little lower. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here today and grateful to have the opportunity given by the meeting organizers to be able to share the IQOS story. This is a journey, not just a story, that PMI embarked upon over the past couple of decades as we focused on developing smoke-free products. Before I get into the whole story, let me quickly introduce myself and my background because it kind of gives a little bit of detail on the first step of the story. I'm Gizelle Baker. I'm the Director of Scientific Engagement at Philip Morris. I'm an epidemiologist and biostatistician by training, and I started my career in the pharma industry and joined PMI along with hundreds of other scientists in the R&D organization with one clear goal, or mission as we could call it, to develop and substantiate alternative products to cigarettes with one underlying common design characteristic. These products had to be smoke-free. They couldn't burn the tobacco because burning the tobacco is what emits the thousands of chemicals in the smoke, of which almost 100 of them are known to be linked to disease. And by removing combustion, we had the possibility of producing a product that could change the way we look at nicotine consumption going forward, because they could ultimately reduce the exposure to toxicants, which could lead to a reduction in disease. And today, I'm going to tell you the story of one of these products, IQOS. IQOS, obviously, is our pivotal product. It's a product for adults who would otherwise continue to smoke. And yes, this product is not perfect, but switching to IQOS is a much better option than continuing to smoke cigarettes. The idea of this comes from harm reduction. This is not a new concept. This is not unique to IQOS. In fact, the concept and the need for less harmful alternatives to cigarettes has been around for quite some time. However, attempts in the past to develop these types of products that both have the potential to reduce the harms caused by smoking, while at the same time can be satisfying enough to actually successfully convert smokers away from cigarettes, has not been overly successful. So starting in 2003, PMI took a concerted decision to up the game in the direction of offering smokers alternatives that are much better for them. When the program first started, we started from nothing. I mean, the place that now is home to R&D's Cube, as we call it, the R&D center of PMI, was nothing but a football field. And today, we have a state-of-the-art research center with over 400 scientists and engineers that have been brought together and given one mission: deliver a smoke-free future. And so I'm going to walk you through the journey of how we got to where we are today, from the development lab to being in the markets of over 40 countries and in the hands of more than millions of consumers around the world. This was not an easy journey. In fact, developing these products was quite challenging. But at the same time, for those of us that were part of the journey, it was exciting and extremely rewarding. I mean, I guess the bigger the challenge, the better the reward at the end. For us, the challenge was big, not just because of what we were trying to do, but we had to invent something new, a disruptive technology, something from scratch. We started in the lab. We had hundreds of questions we needed to answer. What kind of heating technology could we use? What materials would we use? How would we prepare the tobacco? How could we generate an aerosol that in an effective manner? And how best could we use this product to address the consumer needs? These questions were addressed in an iterative process with hundreds and hundreds of experiments in the lab. When we were finally happy with the product concept, we had to move to the pilot phase where we machine-made the product. And then we could start testing this product to understand the aerosol chemistry and measuring the levels of constituents in the product. and starting to do sensory testing to see if it was a product that consumers would be happy with. And then once we finally got to the end of that and we had a product, we moved to an even more complex and complicated process, scaling it up. We're talking about a system with hundreds of components that had to come together, and we had to ensure we could produce millions of these for consumers in an affordable manner so that they could be adopted for use. Here you see some of the pictures of the predecessor products, like the Accord and the Heat Bar. These were commercialized in test markets between 1998 and about 2006. As I kind of alluded to a little earlier, these products came before IQOS, of what we know today. And we can group these together in one big category: products that had the potential to be less harmful, but were unable to achieve the adoption of consumers, and they were commercial failures. But we took the learnings from these products, and they were very important, actually probably critical to the actual development of IQOS as we know it today. We had to understand the usability of the product, as well as the technology issues that were embedded in these products. Today, it may seem self-evident, but the device was way too big. From consumers, all we heard was they didn't want to carry it around, such a big device. How could they take it with them? Therefore, they wouldn't use it. And from a technology point of view, we saw that the heating of the tobacco from the outside in was completely ineffective and wasted a lot of energy. So if you think about it, the heat source was on the outside of the tobacco, which means the heater was giving some energy outside and some going into the tobacco. So therefore, almost half the energy was wasted. Therefore, as we start to look at some of the products that are much more closer to IQOS, we see that the heating element is now inserted into the middle of the tobacco. This allows the heat to go straight into the tobacco, and it's more efficient in terms of things like energy transfer and energy use. And from a usability point of view, it's clear. Consumers wanted a product that was small, that they could carry around with them, but it needed to be able to last for a whole day. Given some of the technology limitations, like battery and these types of things, it took some time before we got to that product. But from an energy storage capacity, we are able to address, with the new batteries, we are able to address some of these things. And now we have a small holder together with a charging unit, mixing the two to be able to get that product through the day without the person having to, every time they want to inhale, lift a huge, heavy product to their mouth. But there were other challenges along the way as well. First, the first major challenge was to develop a system that could bring together the best technology, user experience, and design with performance in terms of harm reduction, taste, and ritual. Take the size of the device, for instance. This was one of the areas where the device was failing. We had to give something to consumers that they could use every day, everywhere, and replace cigarettes with the product. The product consistency was also important. The output of these products, the vapor, had to be reproducible every use if we're going to actually get people to use these products, and we are going to be able to scientifically substantiate the potential for the reduction in risk. The second big problem that came up in the design and development phase was ensuring that the system can be manufactured at a scale and a cost despite the complexity, so that millions of smokers could be able to use these products and produce something that was so complex and completely new, but affordable. And this was part of that scale-up process that I talked about. But ultimately, when you look at what we have today, I think we were able to surmount a lot of those challenges. It took time. This didn't start yesterday. And the IQOS system now truly is integrated effective technology, usability, and performance, while being small and producing an aerosol that's consistent from puff to puff, from stick to stick, with every use. Obviously, we had a lot of learnings from the past, But as you can see here, we are able to incorporate many of these improvements into the device over time, and we continue to look at this going forward. Here you're looking at our latest device, the IQOS 3, where we looked at design of the device. It's also smaller than the previous version, more user-friendly, and it can be charged in a much faster manner. And we offer another line, which was an approach that we took to address another consumer concern that we had while we were first selling the product. And since the consumer is king, it was important that we addressed it. And that was addressed with the multi, the little version on the far side. You're able to enjoy more than one heat stick at a time. And this was important because in some places, when people like to use more than one stick and they had to charge in between, instead of having 2 IQOS, they would use an IQOS, and while it was charging, smoke a cigarette. And for harm reduction, that's a failure. But now that we're in the market, we're taking steps to further develop the product, to meet consumer expectations. We're looking at various ways to bring new innovation to market faster and start to anticipate some of the consumer demands. One of them is our techno block development. We are scouting the technologies available based on our design corridor, evaluating the possibilities and having them characterized as soon as the demand for the technology comes in. This way we're ready to go and able to integrate this type of information into the products in advance. We're also evolving the technology organization in PMI. We're decoupling the techno block so that we have people allocated specifically to the activity of what's coming next, what are some of the new innovations to come. And we're partnering with external organizations so we can have flexibility and capacity to be able to integrate these changes with the resources that we have allocated. But the objective of this is to maximize the benefit and further deployment of the process to be robust and to make sure that the quality and manufacturing of the product is not compromised at any step along the way. We're managing innovation through a very specific process that we've implemented, which we call the innovation framework. This consists of 5 distinct phases. Each of the 5 phases has a gate where the product is reviewed and the decision, the go, no-go decision is made. And the whole process is based around the consumer. If we really want to switch the billion smokers in the world today to smoke-free products, we're going to have to deliver a product that is really focused on that consumer. Obviously, we have lots of learnings, and this is just a small part of the journey, but I think it gives you a little bit of idea of where we came from and where we're going. And some valuable insights will be gained along the way. The learnings are then translated into different products. It can be modifications of what is IQOS today. It could be actually a whole new product. And we'll have to deal with the regulations in each and every different market on how we maintain the product line, but also how do we bring innovations to market faster and directly to address the consumer need. We've come up with lots of different solutions and lots of different possibilities. And we've paved the way for the future, not just of this product, but all of the smoke-free products. And I think it's not just one product that's going to do the trick, and it's not just ours. Our products are going to have to be competitive in a market where harm reduction is going to become the focal point if we really want to achieve a smoke-free future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gizelle. I'll take a quick question.
Okay.
Many congratulations on your PMTA in the US. Can you tell us when it's going to be launched in the US?
I think it was announced that it would be launched the end of the summer. In the press release from Altria, it's very specific.
Thank you. Questions from the floor?
Tibor Tomic from Serbia. I remember that time when IQOS was introduced in Serbia, I read somewhere that Philip Morris have a plan to completely stop the production of traditional cigarette. Is it true, or it is the plan is changed?
The plan is still underway. Our goal is a smoke-free future, and in order to achieve a smoke-free future, the combustible cigarette has to become obsolete. This is not something that can happen overnight. It's something where we have to work within every market, get the regulatory framework right, and be able to switch the smokers that exist today to these new products. And as we build up that base of consumers that have moved away to the smoke-free products, then we can have the discussion on what we do and how we remove the cigarettes from the market. But it's definitely the ultimate vision of PMI.
Hello, Zed, French tobacconist, and I've been selling the IQOS for quite some time now. One of the biggest complaints I have is that customers would tell me it's not strong enough, or it's not enough, it's not the same. So my question would be, are you planning to increase the nicotine strength into your heat stick?
So there are currently multiple different variants, and obviously based on consumer need, this will can continue to expand. So depending on the market, each market has different variants in it. From a pool of, I can't remember exactly how many are approved today. There were 7 the last time I looked. But there's lots of different variants of various strengths and different flavors. And therefore, on a market-by-market basis, the products are there of different, to address the consumer need. And obviously, that can still continue to expand.
Any other questions? No? No? One over there. Sorry, one over.
Thank you. It was very interesting, the things that you said on this presentation. How many people, I'm sorry, I'm Mersiha, I'm a journalist from Bosnia. How many people are, basically converted from smoking the traditional cigarettes to IQOS? And do you have projections how many in the next 5 or 10 years will convert on these smoke-free alternatives?
So currently we have over 7 million smokers who have completely stopped smoking cigarettes and switched to IQOS, and over 10 million that are using IQOS. So we're still working to convert, and it's important that we convert each and every one 100% away from cigarettes, and that keeps growing. Obviously, in our sustainability report, we have projections on wanting to switch certain percentage of all of our PMI consumers away from cigarettes and to our products by specific time points, and then we report back every year in our sustainability report how we're doing and how close we are coming to achieving that.
Thank you very much, Gizelle. I think to keep time, we'll stop there, but thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.